Well, good morning and welcome to the rewind. Get your teeth around that, Steve. #14. Good morning and welcome. Always a pleasure to catch up with you after the weekend's fixtures, especially when it's another victory for Bacup Borough. And at the sports bar is the manager, Brent Peters. Good morning.
Good morning, Steve. How are you on this nice sunny morning, frosty morning?
It is. It's fresh this morning.
Weather's changed a little bit in terms of last week. It was weird because the temperatures, you walked outside and it was mild as anything. You could feel a bit of an heat in even though it was like it might be a dull day.
Yeah, it's
but
cold
now.
now.
All of a sudden last night you could feel the change in the temperature. It is cold now. It is a cold day today.
Yeah, it is a cold day, but over the weekend, Brent, great to see. We are going to touch upon that later on in the show, but a good victory for yourselves and Dave Falgate's team on Saturday.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, we'll touch on that shortly. I just want to touch on obviously the show that we did on Friday was much about the email that came from the Northwest Counties League to all the clubs, which kind of fueled a flame for me in terms of a lot of the contents of it, because it seemed to me that email, which I knew were going to happen, we judged that situation on this show a few shows ago, that what will end up happening when there's discipline situations getting out of hand, it'll all come back onto the clubs, because I've seen it and heard it all before. That's what tends to happen. And lo and behold, when I read that email, that's basically what it was saying. It was saying clubs need to put get their house in order. But I felt some of it was 100% right in terms of what they were trying to get the message across. I felt the message that they were trying to get across was right, and I'll come on to that in just a short while. But I still feel that while some of it was right, I feel that and yeah, clubs do have a responsibility. I feel that some of it wasn't right in terms of and the FA and the county FAs have a responsibility. Now, sometimes what happens is you go on a show or you put it an email in writing, and you've got to probably look at the email 2 or 3 times to get the bones out of it to understand that what is somebody trying to get at. And even on this show, I think sometimes you've got to listen to it a couple of times to understand.
Yeah, we don't always get it right first time. Sometimes we don't even get it right at all.
Yeah, but no, I feel we did get it right on Friday with what we were saying. But I feel that kind of some people might, and the people that matter might, they tried to fire from the hip and not realizing what we were trying to say. Now, I received an email from the league chairman on Friday night after the show, and it was quite obvious that reading his email, he got quite a few of his facts wrong. So whether he kind of listened to the opening lines of our show, and on the opening lines of our show where I read the paragraph that what were prominent, and he didn't like that fact, I don't know. But let me tell you about something about me. If I feel that we've said something that's not right, I'll be the first one to be corrected. If I feel that what we've been saying is 100% right, then I'll fight tooth and nail, whether that's the blinking chairman of the Northwest Counties League, or whether that's the chairman of UEFA, whether that's the chairman of FIFA, or whether that's the chairman of the FA. I'm not going to stand down just because they've got a title at the end of the name. No. If I think that they're incorrect. And I've got to say that the email I received on Friday night, the contents of which was totally incorrect, and he got told so in my response back to him, and which prompted the telephone call from the league secretary on Saturday, which was John Deal. And I've got to say that it was a pleasure to speak to John in terms of how he broke everything down from their point of view.
Yeah.
And I feel I'm a fair man. I feel that, I do take on board. I'm not going to go into full details because we haven't got enough time on this show.
No.
But one of the major issues is, let's get one thing right here. One of the major issues is, which obviously is kind of a worry. It's a worry for us all, that there's a national shortage of officials, which boasts a problem, because without officials, there's no football. So because there's a national shortage of officials, and I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, there's a national shortage of HGV drivers. It's been on the news again this morning. So what do they do when there's a national shortage of something? They try and, obviously, they've just got to try and recruit and get more and more people involved, because if they don't, there's going to be, the HGV situation and getting freight around the country is going to come to an abrupt standstill.
Yeah.
If they don't get more and recruit more referees or assistant referees, again, football is going to come to a standstill. So on that front, it's got to happen, and I get that. But if they're going to recruit and fast track people through the system, if they're going to fast track people through the HGV driving license, they're not going to fast track. They won't fast track because there's a car crash waiting to happen. If they fast track, they will still have to go through the procedures. There might be certain things that might relax on, like taking your exam for a taco card or something like that. But in terms of what the ethics are of driving a juggernaut around the country, they're not going to relax on that, because when you're sat behind a wheel, you've got what my late father used to tell me. You've got a dangerous item in your hands, and that dangerous item is how you control it. So to stop it being dangerous. Well, equally, if we bring that down to refereeing and officials officiating football matches, again, you can't, in my opinion, you have to fast track people through or get people through, but there's still got to be continual training on all fronts to keep them up to speed with everything that's required of them within that, because they've got a responsibility when they're officiating football matches on all aspects. Now, that is my point, is where the system or the FAs have got to ensure that these people get continual, up-to-date training, even though they're in the field of play. Now, having spoke to John Deal on that front, what happens is, and we've seen it, they have an entourage around them now, where they've got their own coach, designated coach, that's probably appointed by the Football Association. And they've also got kind of an assessor that assesses, that's appointed from the Football Association. But as John rightly points out, the big issue is probably the coach or their assessor that's assessing them is somebody that's not had the experience themselves, and probably at levels of how you've got the refereeing situation at the levels, they're probably only a kind of a class three referee themselves who are doing it. So basically, there's an argument there, is that the people who's coaching the coach, the people who's coaching the referees
are almost working on an even level.
They're not that experienced themselves, whereas it should be a more probably retired official that's that can offer to the game. I'm sure, like, even at whilst Keith Eckett can't be running around a football pitch at his age, but I'm sure in a classroom, he'd be able to get lots and lots of points across that would be invaluable to these young officials.
Yeah, but an argument is, though, Brent, would they want a Keith Hackett mentality in a classroom? Because we seem to be going in a different direction as far as refereeing is concerned.
But that's another argument, isn't it? That's another argument, because we've seen the likes of Mike Elsey that's come out, and other people have come out, probably, having a quite a go at Mike Riley and his ethos in the game.
Yeah.
So, you know, who are we to say who's right and who's wrong? All I know, and I'm not going to take it back, is that over the years I've been involved in football, I've seen a total mad decline in terms of officials not officiating games and using common sense and man management skills. And I think that is the word that is
to come back.
Yeah. But then he moves on to, and again, this is where I've got to back the league a little bit in what they're saying. So the email in this terms, but when you listen to what I've got to say on this point, the league have got an absolute massive valid point. Apparently, the assistants are struggling with assistants at our level, step fives, because what's happening is now, and as rightly were pointed out to me, the North West Counties League don't want to get in a price war with other leagues in terms of what the fees and expenses should be for officials.
It shouldn't be a price war, should they, Brent?
No, but apparently there's starting to be one in terms of certain leagues lesser than the North West Counties. It's like more kind of
amateur
kind of leagues. Like, I don't know, your local leagues like around here, like say the Blackburn Combination. I'm just using this as a point of fact, a matter.
Yeah. Because
they're obviously it's a national shortage. So because there's a national shortage, it's like anything else. It's like if you look into terms of coaching, going back to my days at Bury Football Club, I were at the bottom rung of the ladder in terms of I were coaching my teams when they used to be the A team, B team. It were the first team, then it were the A team and B team, which your A team was like your first year pros and your second year apprentices, whereas your B team was like your first year apprentices.
Yes. Yeah.
Follow me. Now, if there was injuries throughout the club, what would happen is the manager would take the better players out of your A team. So that leaves a void in the A team. So what does the A team do? Comes down to the B team and takes the better players out of my group, which is the B team. Now, where do I go to get my replacements? Because I'm at the bottom. So I've then got to go into, kind of the academy and get the better players out of the academy system to come and have some experience in the B team.
Like a fish in the water.
Yeah. So kind of, if you look at that from a appointment point of view in the levels of football, you've then got a situation where if there's a shortage, the lesser leagues are going to be bottom rung of the ladder, aren't they? They're kind of struggling to get them because everybody's like officiating higher up the system.
Yeah.
And they're appointed higher up, they're appointed by the FA. So what happens is, so they're not short of assistants. It seems to me, from if I'm grasping, I mean, obviously Saturday morning I'm really, really busy in preparing for a game.
Yeah.
But I took the call because I need, I felt it was important to get my head right. So we talked about a few things. So if you think about this, if I'm getting this right, so in the system, so what's happening is because there's a shortage, they're offering these assistants
incentives,
more money to go and officiate in their league.
Yeah, with less hassle.
Yeah, exactly. You've just hit the nail on the head, because what happens is they're not stood on a touchline
next to Brent Peters,
where there's nothing to do with Brent Peters or technical errors or anything.
I'm just talking about the pressure that they might be under.
No, they're stood in front of fans at Bacup Borough or anywhere else, Skelmersdale, anywhere else. They're stood in front of fans where there's several. There could be a couple of hundred fans on the ground, and because they're nearest to the fans, they get all the brunt of the crap. That goes with it, right? But equally, this is where the league want the clubs to tighten up is the getting crap as well from the technical areas. So they're basically saying, look, let's take, I'm not saying this has happened at Bacup Borough, but we'll use Bacup Borough. So when the appointments go out and they say, right, we want you to attend like Saturday's game, Bacup Borough v Ashton Town, the assistants could throw it back and say, I don't want to take that, step it down, I want to take that fixture, because they think, I don't want to be up at the Brian Boyd Stadium where I'm going to get loads of abuse, and I don't want to be at Brian Boyd Stadium where I'm going to get issues coming from the technical area. I might as well go and go to Pleasanton, where there's one man and his dog stood on the touchline watching, just taking an orderly afternoon stroll in the sun, and walking his dog, watching football, and he's not going to get no stick, and he can pick probably £10 or £15 more on his money. So it becomes a problem. And
massive.
Whilst that didn't get spelled out in the email, that's really where they're coming from. Yeah. It becomes a problem. Now, when you hear, and I'm not going to mention the clubs, and I'm not privy because I'm not on the management committee, they're fully aware of all the problems that go on throughout the leagues, because they get reports off referees, they get reports that come through from the football, the Lancashire or Cheshire or Merseyside FA, the county FAs. They get all the reports coming through who's up for discipline and what. So they know what's going on. And there's one incident that's still ongoing at the minute, and I were gobsmacked because I didn't even know that it happened. But apparently, one game, and I'm not going to mention the clubs, I'm not going to mention nothing like that, because it's probably it's private and confidential, but it will come out because it hasn't been dealt with by the county FA yet. So if it hasn't been dealt with by the county FA, it hasn't been, the North West Counties League can't deal with it until they've dealt with it. But apparently, at the conclusion of the game, which I find mind-boggling and absolutely outrageous, the two managers from each dugout have had a full-scale fight at the end of a game. Now, we're not privy to that. We don't see that. But when an email comes from the league, it's not going to spell that out. No. But that's what they're meaning when clubs have got to be responsible to get their house in order, because them things should never be happening.
Yeah, and these were the issues that we spoke about, that John Deal mentioned during the meeting that I was part of, and that's the reason why we're still down to eight people in the technical area.
Well, this is another one. What were an interesting factor that came out to me when he was talking to me on Saturday morning. He's on about the levels for ground grading. It's not consistent, so it's not. To be fair to the North West Counties League, and I know that we had a bit of a point where we turned round and said that. The North West Counties League had come up with this rule that because there were trouble in the technical areas, that there was, it don't matter whether you've got 11 seats, they're limiting it to only 8 in the technical area. But there's a bigger picture than that. That wasn't 100% true, because what John explained to me, and he's quite right on this, and I've got to agree with this. There's no consistency in terms of dugouts throughout the league. So how can you go to one ground where basically they're only geared for their own team dugout has got 11 seats in, but the away dugout has only got 8 seats in. Yeah. That can't be right. You follow me?
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
Equally, you go to some grounds where their dugouts, both of them have only got 8 seats in. Both of them got 8 seats in, but the week after you might go to another ground, like they'll come to Bacup and they've got 11 seats in.
Yeah.
So it's because of the consistency, a lack of consistency throughout the league in terms of sizes of dugouts.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why the North West Counties League put that ceiling about 8. Because across the league,
there's
majority have got
8 and below. Yeah.
8 seats. Yeah. So it's got to be equal playing field. And I fully understand that. That's 100% right. So, while on all those fronts, I've got to agree 100% with the league, and rightly so. Where my point is coming away from those situations, yes, we are responsible for our technical area. I mean, there's something, and I'll give you an instance why managers have got to be responsible. A fracas, handbags, which we'll come on to when we talk about the game on Saturday, took place late on in our game against Ashton Town at the top end of the pitch from where our dugouts are. Yeah. Right at the top end of the pitch. Handbags. It was handbags. Players come rushing in. There's on both sides. One of my subs on the bench said to me, jumped up and said, "Can I go on?" I said, "Can you hell us go on?" You get me?
Can I go on?
Can you get where I'm coming from?
What was your reply? What was your reply to that?
Well, I can't swear on here. I said, if you want the F word in, I'll tell you. Can you effing hell us go on? Stay here.
Exactly.
But the point is, that's me saying it.
Yeah.
But how many clubs have said, yeah, get on there? I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
There'll be a few.
What I'm saying is, we're not privy. We're not on the league management committee. So if we're not on the league management, they're getting these things coming through all day long. They're more what's the word I'm looking for? They're more all fair with what's happening throughout the league.
Well, yeah,
than what we are.
They're getting it almost firsthand. They're
getting it. They're seeing the report, so they're getting it. So whilst we don't see it, because then sort of things don't happen, touch wood, thank goodness, at Bacup. It could have easily happened at Bacup on Saturday because a player. So if let's say it weren't me in the technical area, where it was somebody else that's not as responsible as me, and you get it, you know, who's managing the team, or taking the team, and say, yeah, get yourself on there, you know, get your. There's a, you know, what's all that?
It's crazy.
But that's what happened.
That's
the
what
player
happened.
Can I go on? No, you can't go on. What the hell are you on about?
And that's what your point is in regards to clubs taking responsibility. Correct.
Yeah. So there's just two sides to coins, but that doesn't stop my point. And this is what I was trying to get over. And obviously that email that came to me on Friday night, you've seen the reply, you've seen both emails, and you know, I mean, you give your opinion on my email back. I weren't taking nobody crap off anybody.
No, you won't. And like you said at the start of this show, if you believe that you're right, you will fight hammer and nail. But also, in the same token, as we've seen just now, if things are wrong, you'll be the first person to put your hands up and say, yeah, I'll take that on the chin. I accept that.
Yeah. And what we were trying to get at in the show on Friday was about the keep brandishing of yellow cards when the game could be managed better, and it doesn't need the yellow cards, because in some instances it doesn't need the yellow cards. Let's get one thing straight. Now, this is a total different topic to what we've just talked about. This is where the county FAs have got responsibility. The county FAs have got responsibility to this, because how can we as a club, or any other club in the league, and I'm talking about every other club in the league, we don't make the appointments. The appointments made from other people. So what happens is, we can't dictate when a game of football starts whether one referee deems one situation a yellow card and another referee the week after in a similar situation will deem it as not a yellow card, a talking to.
Yeah.
So there's a lack of consistency, or there's a lack of man management from the person that quickly brandished the yellow card to the person that didn't quickly brandish the yellow card and spoke in stern voice more to the point.
Yeah.
So my point were, for the clubs, we're not in control, and it was getting to a scary situation when we're only 12 weeks into the season, where all these yellow cards are going, because that is money and somebody has to pay that money. Now, I'll give you an instance, and I still stick to this. I'll give you a prime example now of an under-21 player here, in a situation we are involved in now, and we found ourselves in at Bacup Borough. So, And the FA will always turn around and get the get out of jail card. It's always the club's responsibility to do the due diligence and check players and make sure everything's kosher. But there's systems that their system isn't fit for purpose at times, so you can't check because when you go on, it doesn't flag up. And there's a situation where in a lot of cases the players, they've got 2 fan numbers. Now we don't present them players with a fan number. The FA present them players with a fan number. So if the FA present you with a fan number, and then the week after, because your name's been spelt with a V instead of a PH, you'll get a different fan number.
So how can you have a car that's got 2 registration numbers?
Exactly. You get me?
Yeah.
So what happens is you go on the system. So Stephen Brown spelled Steven.
Yeah.
Is not flagging up on the system of having a suspension.
Yeah.
Or having nothing.
It's the one with the PH. Yeah.
Now, if you keyed in the system Stephen, it might flag up on a different fan number that's Stephen Brown as a ban.
Yeah.
So clubs, when they've got the person's, so we get your registration with your correct spelling on it, date of birth on it, we key that in the system, but it's not flagging up because somehow somebody's inputted into the system.
But rather than a name, Brent, why don't they have a reference code?
Well, I'm not going to go through all that at the minute. I get that, but I'm telling you how the system is because we haven't got time because we need to touch on how we did on Saturday. But the big issue is, right, this is how it falls down. The systems falls down. We had it 4 years ago when we had a player here that came from West Didsbury and Chadderton, finished the season with them. The season was finished. He played in a reserve game after all the season was shut down and got sent off. Never flagged up on any systems of the FA. Didn't come out anywhere. We had him in pre-season. He hadn't told us that he got sent off. There was nothing coming up when we flagged it. When we keyed his name in and inputted his name in, didn't flag up. He was suspended. We'd played him in 2 games at the start of the season. And before we played our 3rd game, luckily, West Didsbury and Chadderton was on this ground watching our opponents because they got drawn against them in a cup competition. So what happened were they flagged it up to me. They got in touch with me and said, "We're sure that so-and-so is under suspension. He played for us in a reserve game and he got sent off." So when we did our due diligence, even I spoke to John Deal, where do we go from here? He checked all the systems he could, and it was never flagging up that he was suspended. But you know what? Even though we went to the FA and told them, we still got done because we played a player that was whilst under suspension. So this is where I'm coming from now about this under-21 player, and this is what I'm trying to say about what can happen. So my administration and coaches for the under-21 team, you're allowed to, as we are, you're allowed to do an emergency signings on the day. So they got this lad in on an emergency signing. On the bottom, it always says, and you have to sign on a registration. It just asks you about you're not under contract with anybody. No, but one word it doesn't say. Can you? On the bottom of all registration forms, it does not say anything about have you got a suspension or in any way are you eligible to play football and you're not carrying no suspensions with you. And when they sign that and say no, I have got no suspension, that should clear the clubs.
Yeah, that's the declaration that the player is making.
Player is putting in, but these leagues, even our league doesn't have that on. But this league, who our under-21s play in the Lancashire League, they don't have it on. So our guys have signed this player on. So they signed it in all innocence. And even now, to this day, when you go on the system, it's still not flagging up that this player has got a signed eye ban. Now, for those who don't know, a signed eye is all football. You're finished. You can't play.
Yeah.
Until you sort your problems out, whatever your problems, why you've got a signed eye ban.
Yeah.
In this instance, the player in question has got a signed eye ban because he's played for a club amateur level and never paid his dues and demands to that football club.
Yeah.
So the football club in question must have reported him to the county FA, and the county FA have hit him with a signed eye ban until such time as his financial issues have been resolved.
Or he comes back.
And then obviously the signed eye ban will be lifted.
Yeah.
He's not told our coaches anything about this signed eye ban.
And you can't locate it.
We can't locate it. It's not come up on any systems. My coaches played him in an under-20. He's only played one game for us. He was he was just a trialist. We were just looking at him because his father said to one of my coaches, "This lad, you know, he's been a good footballer in his time. He's a quality. He's had a few problems. He's had a few mental health problems. He's had this, that, and the other. I'd like to get him back into playing. He hasn't played. He's come now working for me, so he's earning some money with me. He's got his head sorted out, and I think he's back on the right track. Will you have a look at him?" So they've signed him quick because they needed a player. They've quickly done an emergency signing. Yeah. Nothing on the paperwork that says any declaration about this situation. So they played him. So then he gets sent off in the game. He gets sent off. What made it worse as well, he gets sent off. He starts having a go. This is what we talked about earlier, about getting your technical areas in order. He's then retorted and started having a go at an old, experienced assistant on the sidelines, giving him a load of grief.
Yeah.
Which is only all that's doing is making matters worse. Which all went down in the report. So, this player who's only turned out once for us, who hasn't appeared on any system signed eye ban, so straight away, and even at this point, he doesn't flag that he's a signed eye ban. But this is what happens. This is what happens. So, because there's a charge against him for that sending off, it automatically raises an amount of money. In this instance, because it was what it was, a sending off, and he's come back and abused the official. That's a standing charge of £55 that he's got.
Who's paying that?
No, just let me go carry on.
Yeah.
Well, he has to pay because it's created the problem. But let's get on. So that automatically brings up a £55 charge. Then he's got to answer that charge. So he's got to say, do you want do you want a personal hearing? Are you guilty or are you not guilty? Right? Are you guilty or not guilty? The last. Do you want a personal hearing? If you do, you've got to pay some more money. If you don't want a personal hearing, you can write mitigating circumstances in a letter.
Yeah.
So he's done mitigating circumstances in a letter. I've read the letter. He was open, he was honest, he was frank, he admitted everything. He admitted he'd abused the assistant.
Yeah.
Which was a plus, because some people would say they didn't, but he did. So the hearing, they have to deal with him. He's not going to get let off. So he hasn't got let off, he's got a ban.
Okay.
But on top of that ban, he's got another fine for that same scenario of, say, £35. You follow me?
Yeah, I'm with you, yeah. This is
now then,
increasing all the time.
Now then, on top of that, they've now suddenly on the system, because I get a phone call out the blue last week, they found out, because they've done the due diligence, but it's probably took them a few days, and realised, hang on, this player shouldn't have been playing football in the first place. He's got a signed eye ban.
Right.
See where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Oh, blinking out.
But you've not been able to locate it anywhere.
No. Well, we this is what I'm coming to. There's something else I'm coming to, which is about what I'm saying, that the counties, FA has got to take some responsibility. So straight away now, we as a club are involved in this now, because we've actually played. So we've got to answer a charge of playing a player whilst he's under suspension.
Yeah.
So that's an issue, but we'll side away from that because that's not what I'm getting at the minute. So because they've now issued another charge for him, because you've played whilst under a suspension,
signed eyes.
That creates a charge again, a payday to the FA.
Yeah.
So that's another charge because they've sent out paperwork for the charge. So he's got another charge. We'll say that for this argument's sake, 15 quid. He will have to answer that charge, why he played while it were on the side night. And they will meet at the discipline hearing and decide what they're going to do with him because he's played whilst under suspension.
Yeah.
He's going to get it. There's no two ways about it with another big fine. Whatever that is, it could be anything. It could be 150 quid. It could be anything. My big point is, so that's what's going to happen. All of a sudden, we've got a totting up here, and I've even got it. If let's say his fine for it is £35, so he's now got a £55 fine. What we've just said from previous.
Yeah.
He's got a £35 fine. He's got a £15 fine, a £35 fine, and we don't know what the figure is for his signed eye, what he hasn't paid the other people. So all of a sudden, this kid playing in an under-21 league has got £150 because the club won't be paying it. He's got an £150 plus because I've only guessed at that last figure.
Yeah.
And put it low, but he's got to find £150. So you tell me, if he couldn't afford to pay this amateur club, whatever that were, and that might have only been 25 quid.
Yeah.
Now, if he couldn't afford to pay 25 quid for that amateur league, which is obviously made him get a signed eye ban because he's got a financial responsibility.
The FA are
he's
going to
now got all this on top of that, £150. Well, it's going to probably be more. But my big problem is, how are they going to get that money? Because they're not going to get it. It's impossible. He'll just walk away from that. Now, my point is, this is a young lad. We're trying to educate people. He needs educating.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, he's got to be educated. Banning him and keep fining him and keep fining him and keep fining him ain't going to offer. Even the courts of law, when you're out there, because the prisons are full, they give you community service.
Yeah.
So why do they not come out with a scheme at the FA, some bright spark? They reckon to be clever at the FA and the county FAs. Why do they not come up with a scheme? I'm not saying they can go out in the street and do community service, but we're all appointed clubs. We're all affiliated to the football league, football association, or your local county association.
Yeah.
So why do they not turn around and say, hang on, we're never going to get that money back? But to clear all that off, you need to go to a club, whatever that club is, and spend so many hours community service in terms of things, and community service, and start painting round the ground, or weeding, or pouring weed killer on, or helping voluntary service because clubs need volunteers. That would be more beneficial than a stupid system that's racking up, that they're never going to get that money. And all he is on the system, signed eye. But he's one player. How many other players in the whole country are like him?
Thousands. But that is a brilliant idea. A brilliant idea. Well, it's a brilliant, but it's a very simple idea that should have been done ages ago.
It's crackers. And this is what I'm saying. This is why the FA gets so much. I mean, who am I? And I've come up with that. Who am I?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying about where managing situations has got to be, and they've got to think situations out. And equally, when these referees are brandishing these yellow cards like they do, and one referee will think that's a yellow card and another one won't and another one won't, while they keep brandishing these yellow cards and it goes up and up and up and up and up and up, it's all money. And that money has got to be paid. And these players will get to a situation where because of the situation that referees are doing, it has to work both ways. It's going to get to the situation where young up and coming footballers are going to go out of the game because they can't afford to be in the game.
Yeah, no, it's true. They're gonna walk away through fear of picking up cards because they're thinking, hold on, I'm on an apprenticeship, and if I get a yellow card, it's going to swallow all my apprenticeship money up.
Now, without any negativity, I'm going to bring, and I'm going to say something to you now. You witnessed, and we've had him twice now. On Saturday, we'll come on to more terms, but it will still come on about refereeing.
Yeah.
You said to me off air, I think we've got that referee. You thought he refereed the Pennystone Church Vars game, but he didn't. When I saw him, I asked him the question. He said, "No, I had you against Darwin."
But I remember the name when I was doing the match program.
And he was excellent then.
Oh, he was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
How refreshing this guy is. There's a guy, he comes on and he just, listen, this is it, and let's make a point to this as well. Without getting into the racist situation or anything, the guy is of an ethnic.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Bubbly character.
Athlete, polite, happy-go-lucky, full of fun. The kind of guy that straight away when he walks on at Lincoln at 1:30, he's in charge.
You're buzzing. Everybody's buzzing because just to be in his company, because he was that kind of person. He was, the word I'm looking for, infectious.
Yeah. But he's in charge, and he doesn't even have to tell you he's in charge.
He's in charge. I'm in charge, but he doesn't tell you. You're exactly spot on, Steve. He's walked in. He's friendly, and his two assistants, and his two assistants. We've had quite a bit up here. One of his assistants will be refereeing our under-23 game on Thursday.
Off the top of my head, David Cryer and David Cryer and Oliver Holland. They were the two assistants.
Yeah, all of them. It was a pleasure to have him here.
Quality.
But with a good leader, because he was quality. Do you know what? I mark the officials and I get dragged over the coals because I always, well, not always, it's wrong that. They think I'm very kind of hard work with my markings, right? But I say to them when I'm being questioned, I do a job, I try to do it to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
And if I do a job's worth doing, it's worth doing right. I'm not going to scrimp. If I think a referee has done his job, I will say and praise that referee. If I think that referee has underachieved in certain areas, I will mark him accordingly. If I think that referee has been really poor, I will not only mark him accordingly, I will put my observations in and put a report in about the performance, not to pull the referee down, but to try and hopefully they can put him in for continued training and improve on those situations. Now, I can tell you, it's just the way that the questions come. But when it tottered up at the end, he's got maximum marks from me from Saturday.
Yeah. And I'm not surprised one bit.
Maximum marks. 100.
But the main talking point that we were talking about, Brent, and the reason why you came to your maximum marks, what you were saying, was a fracas, weren't there? A fracas on the opposite side of the pitch, probably about 85 minutes into the game. And it could have quite easily, with a younger referee, maybe someone who can't manage, it could have turned into 2, possibly 3 red cards.
Oh, without a doubt. It
ended up with 0.
0 red cards. There was no red cards. He stood back. He saw everything. His assistant saw everything. He let the situation calm down, and it calmed down. It looked like it were going to get a bit napped because it just blew up all of a sudden. And what happened is there was when you get tangled up on a floor and somebody rolls on top of you, you try to untangle yourself. Yeah. Well, it started with that situation, so it ended up where one of our players was like lying on the floor, and they've tried to get up and like it looked like the other one were going to be like giving him a dig on top of that, so all the others piled in, and then it makes other people pile in, and it got a bit rambags. It really were rambags. But you know what? it's funny because the lads were like, my coaches were we had a kids' party in here yesterday, and somebody had a whistle, and it kept being blown, this whistle. And my coaches walked in yesterday, and they went, "Why is that referee still here with that whistle from yesterday?"
Yeah, because it was. Yeah, he must have blown it about 5 or 6 times trying to get the attention of the players, but it worked.
Oh, 100%. He was brilliant. Listen, I'm bleating about these yellow cards and the totting up of the yellow cards. He's ended up in a situation throughout the game on Saturday. We've had 4 players on yellow cards on Saturday.
Yeah.
But I can accept every one of them yellow cards. Yeah. I ain't got a problem with them yellow cards. Not one. Ryan were a bit like peeved, and you know what? He brought Ryan to him at full time. I went to shake his hand at full time on the pitch. And I went, "Ryan, come away." I thought Ryan were having a go at him, and he went, "No, Brent, no."
Yeah, he's gone to speak to him.
He said, "I've asked him to come to me."
Brilliant.
I've asked him to come to me.
To explain.
He said, "I'm going to explain to him why I've given him because I think Ryan will be suspended now because he's totted up. He's got 5 yellow cards, and he was a bit miffed about it, and he didn't think he deserved that yellow card. But do you know what? How many referees would have done that?
No,
I thought Ryan were having a bit of a go at it. So I'm going to. I said, "Ryan, get in that changing room," and he went. And the referee intervened, and he's gone, "Brent, I've asked him to come to me. I'm explaining to him." I said, "Well, fine, no problem."
That's
brilliant on all aspects of his game.
Well,
all aspects.
I've got his name. You've got his name, but I'm going to pronounce his name as Adewume Victor Sunai. I hope I've got that right, because he is an absolute gem. And I think we're going to hear quite a lot more about this chap.
I think so. Well, it tells you something when he was leaving Bacup, and he said to me, I'll send you an email of the list of bookings, because I wanted to just clarify what the bookings. And he said, I've got to fly off now. He said, I'm refereeing a game tomorrow at Sunderland. Right, so he had to fly off up to Sunderland. Well, I'm not being funny. You know, he's refereeing a game in Sunderland, and he's at Bacup on the Saturday. This guy was. I mean, listen. If there were more of him, there'd be less yellow cards, and this is my point. There'd be less yellow cards, more man management. Clubs would be happier, and we'd all be happy. But unfortunately, there isn't. So we've got what we've got. But it was a pleasure on Saturday.
It was a pleasure. Great performance from the referee. But we'll get on to the game. Just touch upon the game. An excellent afternoon for Bacup Borough as well.
Saturday was. Listen, it was always going to be a difficult game, no matter. I say it all the time about games in the Northwest Counties. They've come back on a difficult result at Steeton, and to be fair, they have a good side of Ashton. They've got some good players.
They have.
They are a good side
in the final third. Yeah,
they're a good side. But listen. We know if we are on it, and we can, we know how we play. It's not about the opposition; it's all about us, and it's all about how we play and how we move the ball. And I felt on Saturday, as a team, from each and every man, we were astounding. We was brilliant. I mean, the football for a level that we are playing in, and the way that we move that ball. I mean, it's no surprise that, you know, from a club that's like had one man and his dog used to watch, and you know, we were barely at 40, 50 people watching us. It was remarkable on Saturday, because it was our best game. You know, we 162 people on here on Saturday. Ashton hardly brought anybody with him, so they're all 162 people coming to watch Bacup Borough, and that is fantastic. But that's credit to these boys, because these are a young team, honest team, and they play with a spring in this, a bit like the referee. It was a great day, happy day, happy day. We have a happy referee, brilliant, and a performance from the blinking players that epitomised that. Everybody with a great smile on their face and playing with a flamboyance. Yeah. And the goals and the execution of the goals was different class. You know, and then we've got and to say that we've had the injuries, we had six players out on Saturday, 6 that would easily be in the first team or around the first, you know, would be starters.
Yeah.
6 players, but it just shows what quality we've got in depth at the club when people are picking the baton up and running with it and are convincing. I mean, some will be back next week, hopefully, for their. But how can you change? It's 5-0, clean sheet.
And some of your players are playing in different positions that they're not accustomed to.
Well, yeah, exactly. But you wouldn't think that when you watch them play. I mean, Brad Hancock, for instance, is a revelation. He's playing in that role, an absolute revelation.
Well, it's a funny you mention him because I'll just play the clip from that opening goal from Brad Hancock, playing in a more of a forward position. Breaks free to Anthony Hall, just inside his own half. Josh Wallen. He goes long down the right-hand channel. That's a good ball by Josh Wallen. Looking for options now. Great play from Hancock. First time shot. That's a wonderful strike from Brad Hancock. And as we say, week in, week out, he only has one thing on his mind.
Absolutely fantastic. He's had a good start to Brad to the game, hasn't he? You know, what do we say of that lovely left peg? He's picked the ball up there on the edge of the area. He's got one thing on his mind, and he's whipped it into the bottom corner. Yeah. It's an absolute peach.
It's an absolute peach.
Well, it's funny you play that clip and like you say about Brad and the funny conversation we had in the bar after, where he's gone to me. He's gone. Is Ryan going to be booked now? And I said, sorry, is Ryan going to be suspended now? And I said, well, yeah. I said they'll have to just check when that kicks in. He'll be on 5 bookings. And he went, Gerv. He said his exact words were, Gerv is a lucky man. Because obviously it's not Gerv's position, and Gerv's the captain. He said, Gerv's a lucky man. He said, I can't believe it, because straight away he's thinking, I'll end up back at left back.
Yeah, he knows where the jigsaw puzzle's coming to.
He knows where he knows. He says, Gerv's a lucky man. But then Gerv's got to step up to the plate, because it only needs us to link in, have a decent left back there that's going in, and we don't move Brad. We leave Brad where he is. And we put a left back in, another one. So don't, it's not all cut and dried. I might go and sign one this week.
Oh, and that means the club captain's having to sit on the bench with the rest of them.
Well, that's that says we're everybody, and this is the kind of thing that myself and Dave wanted. We wanted challenges in every department to push each other. And the good thing about this team, the togetherness. I mean, you look on that clip when the changing rooms after the game. We got the skipper in there who was suspended with the lads and the togetherness, and Toby Wright was in there who's just coming back from injury. He's not quite right yet, and he's there in the lads, and they're all singing and all together and all singing the theme tune. They're all in there, and Ross Mallinson, even though he was named on the bench, he's not 100% right yet, but we had to have him on there as cover for the defensive. So that and Lewis, who was suspended, was up at the game, and he didn't come in the changing room after the game, and so was Kyle Siddle, again, who hopefully should be back in contention next week. But they know they're good lads, and they know that they're just happy because we're an happy bunch. We're together, and the togetherness is brilliant. And they know that, fair credit, it might be next week these lads are sat on the bench and have to wait for the chance because they've been injured. These lads have picked the baton up. They're on back of a 5-0 win, but you're only as good as your last game. So they've got to, you can't rest on your laurels. We've got another tough game next week against Chadderton. They're another side that's a young side and an honest side and a good side.
2 other players that did really well on Saturday, taking chances. Anthony Hall and Lucas Sorrell getting his first full start. Well,
we'll talk Anthony Hall first. I mean, Anthony Hall, we always know what Anthony's got, and Anthony, is an excellent. I mean, he's got loads of games. I mean, he started here at Bacup Borough after, as a 17-year-old. He came here from Ramsbottom, and we know what he's got and what he's capable of, and he scored a great goal, and he got wiped out for the penalty. I think we're for our 3rd goal. So Anthony, I just said to Anthony before the game, Be a bit more positive today if you can. You know, we're not on Astro, we're on here. Just be positive and take the game to them, and he did. You know, because that's what Carl's been doing when Carl's been playing. He hasn't played. He's kind of not let the team play in front of the opposition. He's taken the ball past the opposition, if you will. He's took them on because he's got great ability. Well, so has Anthony. You know, so that's what he did on Saturday, and he took the game to him, and it was brilliant. It was different class with what he was doing. And then the introduction, it's funny because let's go on to Lucas. You know, we've been watching him a few times for the 23s. You know, there's no two ways about it. The lad's got a lot to learn on a lot of things, but that's what the 23s is about for his development. But he's got stature. He's a big lad. He's not only just a big lad, but he's got power and pace.
Yeah,
you know, he's strong. And you know, and the week before at St. Helens, when we stepped him up and put him on the bench, we tried. You know, and again, credit to Daniel Warren, because we didn't want to change anything within our shape, and we just wanted a player that could go in and play at the top of the shape that we play, and hopefully everything else would click into place. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work for Daniel last week. But as we know, Daniel's basically, I mean, his rightful position is probably midfield, but he can play at the back. And as is seen, because he's done really, really well at the back. But having seen last week when we brought Lucas on and seen what he did last week and just his presence up there, it was a no-brainer for us to start him. You know, because Toby wasn't fit, so it was a no-brainer. You know, and you know, to put him up there, and he's grabbed his chance, and you know, he's done really really well. I mean, what can you say? He scored a goal. He scored a goal on his first full debut, because that was his debut. Start in his starting, he scored a goal, and he's had 2 assists in 2 games.
Yeah, well, it was
it's a great start for him. It's a great start, and it keeps. Listen, it keeps Toby on his toes, because now all of a sudden Toby's, you know, he's done well as Toby. He's worked hard with the physio, and but he's not just there yet. But he kind of said to Dave Felgate, "Hey, you know, I'll be fit next week, Dave. I'll be fit for next week." You know, and Dave said, "Well, who says you've got to get in?" You know what I mean? And it's right, isn't it? But obviously he's pushing. He's just wanting to let him know that, thinking, hey, I've just seen a player there that could take my place. Well, any player in our group at this moment in time can take somebody's place, and pick the baton up and run with it. And that is what's good about the club at the minute. And long may that continue.
Long may that continue. And also, you know, what we're doing at one end of the pitch, we've got a fine goalkeeper at the other end, keeping him out. What a display on Saturday from our number one.
Listen, there was important times I was speaking to their management team after the game, and I was gutted for him in a little way, because listen, I'd been there, you know, and I tried to be humble, you know. So I tried to be humble. I mean, we deserve fully our 5-0 victory. It could have easily been more, but I'm not so stupid to realise that there was important parts in that game that could have made it more of a game.
Definitely.
You know, there was a situation, I think, in the first half where we were 2-0 up, and we made a mistake at the back. It weren't really a mistake. We kind of didn't cover. We were trying to play the offside, and we didn't drop off, and the lad was through. And if he scores there, it's 2-1, game on.
Yeah.
And Harry was on the money, and he was equally
made himself.
Yeah, and he did really well. And then the next moment, critical moments in the game, and then the stupid moment for them, they would have been right back in the game at that point. But then the other one were just before half time, where we go 3 up. One of their players, their manager, said to me at the end that it were the fans behind the goals had got in. He said, "Why they play at this level? If they are letting the fans affect their heads, then they shouldn't be playing at this level." And he's right on that, 100%. Because you've got to cut the fans out.
Yeah.
You know, at any level where there's fans, you know, you've got to cut them out. You've got to be better and bigger, and you shouldn't be even listening to what the fans are saying. So he said that the fans behind the goals had got into this player's head, and he got like, it must have affected him, and he comes down in the penalty area and he rushes down, and you know, in his frustration, he's wiped Anthony all out. It was stupid. It was crazy. You know, it was a ridiculous situation. It was ridiculous. I mean, but Anthony, he's a clever player, is Anthony, and he saw him coming, so you know, he took everything because he knew what was going to happen. And yeah, but that was another, from their point of view, critical time in the game where if they could have gone in at half time 2-0, there's all the second half to go, and it could have been a different ball game. But that let us go 3 goals in front. Well, 2, you know, 2's not always enough, but when you get to 3, you should
a little bit of breathing space there.
Yeah, there's a bit of breathing space. And then we come out in the second. They came out in the second half. They had a bit of a go at us, but to me, Harry Turner pulled a save out of it. Honestly, it would have been epitomised if it would have been on Match of the Day on Saturday night, because it would have graced any Premier League ground that day.
He made 2, didn't he, Brent? The first one was a good save up into the top right-hand corner. That was we thought that was a fantastic one, but I think we're both alluding to the second one, aren't we?
The second one were unbelievable because it was a reaction save. The balls come in if I remember rightly, the balls come in, and the player has made a blindside run diagonally across the box, and he's latched on, and he hasn't been tracked, and he's latched on, and he's hit it, and as he's hit it sweet as a nut, and he's hit it straight, and he's literally churning away with his hand up in the air, and it's one of them, he's put his hand up, and wow, where's he pulled that from?
Well, just hang fire, because myself and Knight say this is how we saw it.
Near side, played in by Parry. He was looking for the first time ball in, but intercepted in the back on Lucas Sorrell, but referee says play on, coming forward, halfway inside the Bacup. Oh, first time ball played into the box, and another tight save!
That's a save!
An absolute world-class save from Harry Turner.
Wow, what a save, Steve.
It was a fantastic ball playing in for Noah Robson. And, well, he was almost celebrating.
Unbelievable. Almost Gordon Banks-like, but he just didn't go over the bar, did it? It was the similar sort of thing. It just looked a goal,
but the concentration levels, to keep your eye on that ball, an acknowledgement as well from the Ashton player.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. But it was, I hope it came across in commentary as it did visually, because that was something special.
Well, let me tell you, it was a special save, and he was a special lad, and he's got a special honour coming on there, because he's got the player of the goalkeeper of the month for September. September. So you know, it ended up a very special day for a special lad, special save, and he's got a special trophy coming to him for being the goalkeeper of the month. And what a fitting end to end the show. I'll leave you with that one, pal.
See you later.
See you later, mate.
Bye now.